Now, on these pages here, the hydraulic analysis, you're going to see you've got pre-development, and then I've got post-development. And basically what this is that there are requirements for runoff. And basically when developing a site, um, rainwater, that drops onto a site, that has to go somewhere. So some of that water is going to evaporate, some of it's going to, go into the soils, and some of it's going to run off. So it's going to go into the streams and um, into existing other sewer systems, or storm sewer systems. So basically, what you have to do is you have to analyze the site and say, okay, before we do any development, this is what our runoff is going to be. So there's a certain formula and calculations to determine the runoff and the coefficient and what type of soils come into play, what type of vegetation's on that site, and what type of impervious areas or areas where the water is going to run off. That all has to be calculated in to determine what your hydraulics is. So what is it before you do construction? And then when you do this and you start to add in roads which are impervious, you add in buildings, houses which have, the water is going to run off the roof into the gutters and then into the road, and the road is going to go into the storm sewer, and that storm sewer has got to go somewhere. Well, basically what you have to do is, to keep it simple, is the volume of water and the rate at which that water runs off cannot be affected, cannot be higher or lower than it was prior to the development. So you have to make sure that the same amount of water runs off the site and not more than, because what happens is then you get downstream erosion. So if all this water, that would have normally gone into the soil or would have evaporated, now is all of a sudden being channeled off the site into a stream, then it may cause erosion down on a neighboring property. So to avoid that, they put in these measures, and you have to go through this hydraulic calculation. And that's why, we end up having, you can see here's a finer detail of, all the different drainage areas now that are going to go into these different storm structures. And then it's all going to go into this pond, and basically all the water gets collected into the pond. All the sediment ends up being hopefully filtered out before that water drains off site into the existing or neighboring streams or land. So you want to make sure you're not flooding your neighbor's site when you build these projects, whether it's on a subdivision or what have you. So with that, this is where they calculate the amount of volume in storage that is going to be required for these basins, these storm sewer basins, or these storm water management basins, basically is what it's doing. So the water is all going to be coming in through the storm system. It's going to come into here, and then it's going to outflow after the settlement, or the sediment's been settled. So you can see you've got a bottom, and then you've got some different storm levels. So at a 10-year storm, at a 10-year storm, based on that runoff, is going to come in. This is the elevation of the water. So the pond has to be deep enough, has to be wide enough to store that volume of runoff that's been calculated through that hydraulic analysis. Same thing here is another one. So, these ponds, whether it's in the erosion control phase or actually are going to be existing after the, full construction of the site, they are used to manage the stormwater runoff. So they're very important in a lot of projects, whether it's a subdivision like this, or even a new highway, or even in a commercial type of project. So that's what your hydraulic analysis is going to be. So a lot of the details on the pond and how it's built. Again, these contours, this information can be a surface. That surface model being built in Business Center is then sent out to, whether it's an excavator or a dozer, or a piece of equipment to actually build this part of the project and grade it out. So again, just tying in these plans and where you get the information to those types of projects, or those parts of parts of construction on a project. The next step, or the next sheets we'll talk about, are the profile sheets.